Okay, I've now got a treat. I want to welcome Frank Bilotta, who's been with me for a number of years now, and a really great guy. And Frank, thanks for an incredible photo that you sent me today. Always very happy. I've met Frank once in Melbourne. Had the chance and opportunity to have dinner with him as well. So I'd like to welcome Frank. I think it's a treat. I'll be going through his results, his journey with me so far, and what lessons and what actions he's taken that I think we're going to pretty much everybody's going to get a lot out of it tonight. So without ado, I'm going to see if I can put Frank on the line.
Hello.
Hello, Frank. You there?
Yes, Terry. How are you?
Hi, Frank. Good, thank you. Can I just check everyone that you can hear Frank okay? Nice and clear?
Hi, everyone.
Awesome, Frank. All yeses coming through. They're coming loud and clear.
Great.
Thank you, Frank. Firstly, for agreeing for an incredible hot seat interview, and it's definitely time because, of course, you've been with me for a while, but of course, I want to let you speak as well. Frank,
Yep.
just a quick one. Frank has been with me for a while, but I'll let him tell you his story. But in terms of result-wise, he sent me his spreadsheet, which I'll be sharing with you later as well. Incredible results from the time that he's been with me, and hopefully his journey will inspire everyone that is here tonight. So Frank, welcome officially.
Nice, thanks, Terry.
Frank, can I just ask, so where are you from, and what do you actually do for a living?
I'm from Melbourne in Warrandyte, so outside suburb of Melbourne, and I'm a builder. I've been a builder for about 30 years. I also design homes. And enjoy it.
Wow, awesome. So Frank, when you said that you're a builder, what made you? Because a lot of people who are in residential property will never, very unlikely, go towards what some might call the dark side of stocks and trading. So what made you decide that you want to go towards this side?
I had a super fund for about 15 years. And really, it wasn't really doing very well at all. Grant, my accountant, suggested to speak to you.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's when I first heard of you and also met you as well, back all those years ago. Yeah, and Frank, when you said it didn't do too well, was it just with like industry super, or were you self-managing it, or was it with like a fund manager?
Yeah, it was self-managed. I actually had 3 different brokers over the period, and each time I swapped one, I was disappointed, and I kept on sort of losing money, and then came out even. The actual fund really didn't do well at all. It was basically leveled out.
Okay, and how many years were you, what I could probably say, with the super fund actually suffering?
It was over probably, I think, around about a 16-year period.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that is actually a long time. You were very patient.
Yep. I remember one stock which I bought. I actually lost around about 40,000 just on one.
Right.
Yeah, so it was quite a bit.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So how long have you been with me and the Freedom Trader Blueprint, and what's your experience been so far?
Since I joined, I did the course in 2016, around about this time, so it's been about 2 years. I did the course at that time. I was pretty busy at the time, but I decided to do it. Then I shelved it for about 5 months. And then I finally decided to start, so I reviewed the course again. So I basically redid it right through. Then I opened up IB with a super fund. It took forever, so that was probably the worst thing about it. And then I started trading. I sort of bought my first stock, which, believe it or not, I've still got, CBA. So I missed out on selling it and decided to keep it. And yeah, it's going to be my record stock. But yeah, so look, I went straight into it. I only bought a small percentage, went straight into it, and yeah, I didn't want to do the paper trading. I sort of looked at it and I thought, no, I don't think I'll do that. I think I'll just start really small, really careful, and yeah, and then I was off basically. As soon as I bought the CBA first, the first stock, which was CBA, I started buying other ones, and yeah, it was pretty good actually. Very exciting. It was really exciting. Still
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you said, firstly, the 5 months when you said you shelved it, what was the main reason? Like you just had something else on in life,
Yeah,
or
I was just too busy,
right?
really busy. I really wanted to start it, but I knew that I just didn't have the time to commit to it.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, wanted you to, I guess, repeat that to others too, because so there's some of us on the line that definitely have put it on hold, on pause for a while, and they're now coming back into it. So, it's just sharing, I guess Frank's journey as well, that, it's not all perfect where you have the intention of starting and then you're up and running all the way. So Frank also had a busy lifestyle, and it may be for you as well, and therefore he also put it up on a shelf for 5 months, and then at least it's now come back in and is now fully into it, which is really good to see.
Yeah, I think jumping straight into it and instead of doing paper trading for me, it just suited me. Jumping straight into it was a really good choice for me. Otherwise, I probably would have kept on paper trading forever, So yeah, but
Right.
everyone's different at the end of the day.
Yeah, very true, Frank. And then I think what you said is correct. Even if you jump in though, you definitely didn't go, gung ho, having massive position size. You started very small and then got the confidence. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. Yes. Yep.
Mm.
Plus, I really closely followed what you were doing and really took note of each step that you were taking, and I took note when you sold and basically looked at each chart, and I was really, really careful, and I mean extremely careful.
Mm. So what you were doing then, would I say, is Frank, basically following the footsteps and just
Yep,
seeing the trails, right, and what I was leaving behind, and when I bought, when I sold, why did I buy it? Just understanding that. Would that be right?
exactly. That's exactly what I did. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's actually a really good point, especially for the brand new members and the ones that are restarting out, because sometimes you might find it's like this big task that is, or a mountain that's unscalable. But in actual fact, the reason why you've got Blueprint, but also you're part of the inner circle, is that this inner circle should make your journey much easier by seeing what I'm doing, not necessarily copying it, but at least watching what I'm doing and learning from the steps. Therefore, it just makes your job much easier, or speeds up the process, like what Frank has done.
Yeah, I think I spent about early in the period, I spent about 2 days just looking at all your buys and sells and looking at the charts just to get some sort of trend happening on what you were doing, and just a good understanding, and just to build up my confidence.
Yeah. And then Frank, well, with you doing that, right, spending 2 days on that, what did you find? Like when you obviously went through them, what was it that you got out of it in terms of what you found?
Just when you sold, the stocks at what time, it just built my confidence. And when you bought, basically, and it was just confirmation of what I'd learned, but also, more in depth, basically.
Yeah. And did you find that from my results, were they actually quite consistent in terms of myself following it?
It was There was a bit of difference. Sometimes you'd wait longer for the RSI, sometimes you wouldn't, and that confused me a fair bit at the beginning.
Right.
And I wanted to know why, and get an understanding and get a bit of a grip on it, because there are a set of instructions, but I learned later that the instructions can be sort of changed a little bit and manipulated depending on the stock market at the time, the volatility, depending on the stock, depending on how much money you have or how much cash you need to generate, etc. So there's a lot of variables in it.
Yeah, excellent, Frank. Yeah, and that's one point I want to hopefully you said as well, which is great, because we've got a set of rules. We try to follow it as close as we can, but everybody, in terms of their risk level, is always also different, but also depending on the market type at that point in time, and also what you said earlier about cash levels. So if you're low on cash and you need cash for another opportunity, you may sometimes sell out a bit earlier by, you're following the rules to as close as possible, but if it means selling a day or two earlier to lock in the capital gain and then just move on to something else that is more enticing, then so be it. It will happen. So thanks for that, Frank.
No worries.
Before Blueprint, right? I know you mentioned it earlier about the super fund, but what type of frustrations did you experience in regards to investing for yourself and also for your financial future?
Yeah, well, I just found that relying on the brokers, I felt that they worked for themselves, or they didn't. They would tell you to buy a stock at the right time, but then to sell it, it's like it's already gone down. There's no point selling it. It's like they're serving their own selves, basically. That's how I felt. And I really, towards the end, before I commenced Blueprint, towards the end, basically for about 3 years, the fund just was dormant. I didn't do anything on it at all.
Mm.
And that's because A, I didn't know how to trade, and B, I didn't trust anybody.
Right.
So when you came along, I thought, okay, shall I take this chance? And the chance was really, there was money back guarantee for a start. Grant recommended you, and I spoke to you over the phone, and you seemed really good. So I took the jump. Even though I was busy, I thought, I might as well do it. So I did it.
Yep, and thank you for your trust, and hopefully to this day there's been no regrets, which is good.
No, I'm definitely really happy with what I'm doing, just for myself. Definitely happy.
Yep. So Frank, what type of real results have you been able to achieve since joining Blueprint?
So really understanding how to trade profitably, which is one main thing. Confidence, independence, and happy that I'm growing the portfolio and having fun, basically. So, with the portfolio, when I first started, I thought, okay, Terry's saying in the 20% a year, I'm happy with 12 to 15%, and if it grows on a steady course and increases at that sort of rate, I did a few calculations and I thought, okay, that sounds pretty good. I did calculations over a 10, 15-year period. I think I did show you that, and it's sort of reconfirmed I'm on the right track. So
yeah, no, it's actually really good and satisfying too, especially when members, right? Although I talk about we aim for that 15 to 25, I always make a point that we don't always get there, but at least we strive for that. And when you mentioned, getting that 15% per annum, and I knew that that's actually much more definitely achievable because I've done it so many times in the past. It made me quite confident of having you as a student, because therefore there wasn't that pressure. Because if you were to come to me and say, "Oh, that's great, Terry," then if there was an expectation of you making sort of 25% every single year, then I actually would have told you that that's probably not possible on a year in year out basis. But you coming in and basically halving that, it was much better.
Yeah, 12-15% compounding is actually pretty good. It's a pretty good figure over. Obviously you're going to have good years and bad years, but if you average it out to that sort of rate and compounding, where you keep your money in there, then it's quite good. So
Oh, definitely. I mean, even at 10%, right? The rule of 72 is 72 divided by 10, roughly 7 years, 7.2 years to double your money. And you divide that by 12 now, it shrinks the amount of time. And if you get to that 20% mark, you're literally 3.5 years or just over 3 years, you're doubling your money. So that's where real wealth is made. Every 1% does actually count compounded over time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna now just bring up Frank's I guess results, which he has kindly shared, and I think you will all find fascinating as well. So firstly, Frank, thanks for sharing this the PDF that you sent me today.
Yep,
I think
no
it's
worries.
an eye opener. So I'm just gonna bring it up. So there's actually 2 years, because like Frank said, he's been with me for almost 2 years now. And from day one, he literally started trading. This is, I believe, this one that you see on screen now. This is the previous financial year. So when I talk about the previous financial year, it's based on the sell date. So not necessarily that he bought it in the previous financial year, but he did sell all of these and completed them, locked in profits or losses, including dividends received during that previous financial year. And of course, there's going to be another tab which will have the most current financial year, which of course has not ended yet, but it's just started. So I'll just quickly just run through it. This is a PDF form, so it's not like Excel that I can highlight, but just watch where my mouse is. Again, all the companies on the left, they are not the small companies, all the big ones. From the Apples, a mixture of Australian and United States stocks. Apples, there's also Crown Resorts, Casinos, the Macquarie Bank, National Australia Bank, Accenture, which is Westfields, Woolworths, things like that. And of course, the US stocks, which is all the Bank of America. So everything that's listed on the left, they are dominant in their own market space. They are big companies, so not take on board small I guess small companies. And then when I look at the actual return down here, this is Frank's ROI. He's annualized that because he's only spending roughly about sometimes way less than a month in a stock. Probably on average, I'd probably say 90 days. Would that be right, Frank, on your calculations?
Yes, I think it's averaging around about 93 days or 90 days, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So on position size, he's kept it small, below that one-ish mark. We're basically below 1, which is good to see. So not taking on board humongous risk to do so. This is his return. 7, 12, 4, 7, 14, 8. A loss of -6 right here. 11, 16, 0.5, 3, 4. Of course, that's self-explanatory. 17. -7, so there's a -6 here, -7 here, keeps on going, -1, -0.48, and then a mixture of 17, 3, 8, 3, 11, 13, 15, 11. This is just page 1. Everybody quite, just from looking at this, it's already, for me, quite mouthwatering in terms of the type of returns he's making. I'll go to page 2, and again, the listing of the stocks from the Walt Disneys and all the big ones on the left. And return wise, a mixture of single digits and double digits returns. And then right here, Chipotle, minus 20, a rare, I guess, double digit loss, minus 23% on Chipotle right here. -4, -0.59, and then literally all capital gains all the way, 20, a couple of 20s, which is so good to see. -0.64, 20th Century Fox at 29, almost 30% right there. A number of double digits again, Gilead, 10, 10, 4, 2, 6, and then there's a -4 here. So you can see how there's definitely a couple of losses here and there, but it's mixed in with a lot of capital gains, which really makes these losses really part of the process, and you should not be worried about them. -2, and then
I think most of the losses on that year, I actually bought double or had more than one position, so then I made the money back on the second or third position.
Yeah. So just to reiterate that point, what Frank's saying, that this is GlaxoSmithKline, the pharmaceutical giant. -4 is on the first one, and then +2, 6, 9. So as an overall position, Frank actually was profitable on GlaxoSmith. Then when I go to KKR, the private equity firm, it's -2 here, but then the second position at 5. Therefore, technically, it's actually also a positive right here as well. and then a mixture of did very well on multiple positions of Kroger, where it's 11, 12, and 29, all three very profitable. MBIA 20, 25, -2 here, a Manulife. Mylan 24.27, multiple positions on Nike, all profitable. And then platform specialty -2 on the first position, then 2 sort of the second one covers it, but then the third one makes 11.5, so therefore definitely positive overall on platform. And then there's Pepsi, where 3 positions here, all profitable, and then the next couple of positions right here on Pepsi was -5, -4, but then makes up 4 and makes up 8, so therefore overall again positive on Pepsi. So it's actually really good to see, Frank. I just from look at this, it shows things like this. When I see this, it shows courage that you're confident of what you've bought. So when things drop, you don't panic and you just sell out and sort of be done with it. You're happy to pick on board another 1 or 2 positions if you need to, and by the time you sell out, it's positive. So
Yep.
how does that feel actually, Frank, when you do that?
I think what I learned, it does feel like you need the courage. You've got to jump into it, especially 3rd, 4th, 5th positions. But what I learned is that if you don't get those 2nd, 3rd, and 4th positions when you need to, you'll never get out of the stock in a positive way. It'll be much harder.
Yeah.
So if you only take 1 position and then it drops substantially, and then you don't take any further positions, you're going to be locked into that stock for a longer period of time, or you're going to have to sell it at a loss.
Yeah, so that's a really good takeaway, and hopefully everybody got that. It's the courage to do so, but why you actually do it. But obviously, when you do it, you have to be confident of what you've researched and what you're buying in your first one. And this is why I say, no system, including Blueprint, is 100% foolproof. If you're looking for one, it does not exist. Those who are out there selling you these type of 100% type systems, they don't exist. It's total BS. Even with our own, with fundamental plus technical plus macro, we're sitting on that 80 to 90%. And even our technicals, they are not always right, which really does show right here on all the different positions that Frank's taken. And why we position size accordingly, therefore allows Frank to, like he said, to take on board, multiple positions. But Frank, what if we switched it, right? And we said that, say you were so confident, and you say rather than putting a 1%, or in your case even more than 1%, you put on say a 2 or 3% position, what would happen to your psychology and thinking?
2 or 3% position at one time for one.
Yeah, no, per time.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'd be a little bit more careful. Those positions that have got like 0.8%, 0.9, etc. That was a period when I was sort of bringing my money into IB, and it took a really long time to sort of move the money to US stocks, to US money, and also to build up the amount of stocks. It took me like months and months, basically. So it was hard to sort of work out 1%.
Yeah.
When I was buying. Now it's a lot easier because most of the money's in there, and I know what 1% is. I know what the 1% is basically.
Yeah, but what you said earlier, that it took months to build the portfolio up to where it is, right? And this is where, especially for the newbies, or the ones that are just restarting their journey, don't get focused on saying, you've got so much money and you want to put it all at work. It does take months at a time to slowly get fully into the market. And by doing so, by taking the time, the results show at the end. So rather than rush into it, just allow that patience to take effect. And, believe me, even in Frank's case, right, no matter, whatever money that you've got, you will use it. Give yourself 6 months, you will easily use it. Would that be right, Frank?
Yeah, I think it took me about 8 months.
8 months?
To use it. Yeah. But I
Yeah,
think
so
last year was different to this year. Last year was sort of like there wasn't as much volatility. So I believe it was different, you know.
yeah, yeah, and this is the final page of Frank's record. So let's get straight into, I guess, the summary. So annualized average annualized return 64%, average return per investment sitting at 6%. So in other words, every $1 Frank puts on, he's expecting a 6% return on average. This is based on the previous financial year, and average number of days in that last financial year was 65 days. So basically, it's just above 2 months. And total positions he's taken on board 209, 188 wins, success rate of 90%. So firstly, I want to say congratulations, Frank, on that first year. It's awesome being a newbie from where you were to where you got to getting this. Actually seeing this now and putting it in perspective, how do you actually feel about this?
Yeah, look, I'm really happy with it. I mean, you know, I was when I found out what I'd made for the year, I think in total was around about 18% approximately. For myself, I was really happy with it, and yeah, I was moving forward.
Yeah. Yep.
These figures that are shown on the bottom here, I only built those today because I didn't really sort of I didn't have those figures automated. Basically until today. So yeah, I'm just trying to get my head around them myself. So
yeah, so these figures were actually only about 2 hours old, maybe. It was because I asked Frank to actually get them for me, so he went back to the drawing board to get it into the Excel spreadsheet, and also of course the new one is Google Docs. So thank you, Frank, for getting that within that time frame that was required before the webinar. Yeah, so from look at these results, based on what you've seen so far, what's everybody's thoughts of Frank's results? Any comments on it? Okay, Frank, I'll just read some of them. Kevin says, congrats, hope to achieve similar results. Toshi's got awesome, Frank. Tony, fabulous effort, Frank. Thanks for sharing. Very inspiring, creating another viewpoint. David, great effort. Aranka, brilliant work. Awesome, well done from Valerie. James got good to hear from someone starting from grassroots again. And yeah, that's actually a good point. Monica, thanks for sharing. Great work. Summer, so encouraging to see. Maggie, great work. Thanks for sharing. Brilliant. Thanks for sharing. Inspiring from Laura. Brad's got inspirational. Frank, thanks for sharing. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing from Navid. And very inspiring from Elaine as well. And Rodney, I'll keep if you just keep that question, Rodney, at the end, I'll have a little Q&A session for Frank as well. Greg's also got congrats. Sam also start a fund. Start a fund. I'm in from Sam. Lobby's got this is the second time I joined your webinar, but can't raise my Q&A last time. Lobby, give it a shot when the Q&A time comes. Nessie, fantastic. Thanks for sharing. And also Sandra, great results as well. Yeah, Frank, of course, I wouldn't be surprised. It's definitely very impressive. So now I want to share with you Frank's results for this financial year. Although it's just started, but let's share how I want to show the reality of trading as well. Great, one financial year. Let's look at this financial year and see how things are panning out. So this is the current financial year as of the basically anything that's been sold after the 1st of July 2018. Something you will notice later is that there's definitely not as many investments or trades that's been made because of the short. I guess it's been only 5 months, 5 months in. So again, all the big companies on the left, but definitely a more volatile year. But looking at the RSI or the ROI, return on investment, -10 on Allergan, but then really in the end 3 and 14 makes up for it. Then you've got -2 on Allstate, a rare loss on the one stock. Booking, -4, but then the second one is at 5, therefore a positive. So it really reiterates, how multiple investments over time does either equalize or at least bring the loss even smaller. For example, CBOE, almost -10 on the first one, -0.14, but the second one at +3. So still overall loss, but does bring down the loss a little bit.
I think this financial year I was more inclined to take losses than last year. It's a little bit different this year. So yeah, but I sort of said to myself, okay, I think I need to take some losses just to, you know, just to increase my cash.
Right. And Frank, besides increasing the cash, was that the main objective, or was it something else that's, in the back of your mind that you're concerned about as well?
Most of the time was to increase my cash position.
Yeah, got it. And you see that is actually an important point. Sometimes, the stock has moved. Yes, it hasn't moved to where we want it to be. Of course, in a perfect world, we've got an expectation of a stock. But sometimes if it doesn't get there, and if you're low on cash and there's a better opportunity somewhere else, you may need to take on the cash, even at a small loss, and move on because there's a higher potential capital gain elsewhere as well. So that's what Frank has done. So 11, 2, -3 right there. There's a couple of small minuses on Delta Airlines, -0.3, -3, and Dollar Tree, a -1, but then makes it up at 9 anyway with the next one. Page 2, also a number of losses at -4, -2, -1, -3, -4, -3, -4. And it's a good thing that they are small losses and they're not anything dramatic that it has been needed to be crystallized. But on Johnson & Johnson is actually a positive anyway on that, I've noticed. And if I look at the summary of the last 5 months, this is the differential between last year and this year that Frank talks about. The average return last year was at 6%, so every $1 was a 6% capital gain, whereas on this year, with the more losses that Frank has taken, it's actually down to 3.4. On average, number of days, the stock has lasted 94 days, or almost just the past 3 months. Total positions that he's taken so far, 89. Total wins, 67. So the success rate has dropped down from 90 to 75. And I wanted to, Frank asked me whether, I wanted to share this, and I definitely wanted it because it's important that I share the realities of trading. There are good times, there are not so good times, and this year is definitely not as good as last year because of the volatility. But again, we never know. It's only been 5 months in, things can change. So we'll see. But just from looking at it, all of us, I know, as you probably will agree, we've all had a bit of a volatile, past 6 months, from the first one being January, February, and then with a lot of people being their first sort of market pullback, and then recently another market pullback as well. So hence, it's really good to see the realities of investing, trading, what does actually happen.
I'm really happy that these two periods, like February and this period, has occurred, because it's really given me a perspective of another side to it, and giving me that just that understanding and experience, which is good to have.
Yeah, correct. And then even during these volatile type times too, right? It's still it's just not as profitable as last year, but it's still a profitable year, and definitely more challenging. But the part where you said it gives you perspective, because it really, I think times like this allows us not to be over too confident that this is just too easy and money is always there for the taking. It definitely is not. We do need to work for it, and as long as you put in the effort, making sure that you protect yourself, then we're usually okay. So everybody, what's been your takeaway just from looking at Frank's results from last year and this year, and anything that what we've discussed so far? Barry's got a comment. Well done, Frank. Our results are very similar, so great to know.
Good to hear. In a way that I'm still on track, if you know what I mean.
No, definitely, Frank. You're definitely on track. Even myself, my own results, I second that as well, because my results this year is nowhere near as good, definitely nowhere near as good as last year. There's no doubt about that. Because last year I had, I believe, over 22, 23% capital gain, and this year it's definitely not that at all. It's below 20.
Yeah.
But it's only been 5 months in. We'll see.
It might change in the following year, so 2020.
Yeah, and then this is where we just got to accept what the market gives us and not force it. James may need more than one position in a company. Takeaway: may need more than one position in a company for the overall position to be profitable. Laura's got to appreciate the transparency and the truth. Yeah, Laura, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I don't want this false sense of security that everything is always great. It isn't. And by knowing this, it gives us, and we appreciate too in good times, and they just expect that not so good times may happen as well, and we just got to ride those out. Tony, takeaway, because we choose good value stocks, taking on extra position is a very powerful form of risk reduction. Therefore, when making your first position size, it is important to think that you are likely to take another couple of positions. Tony, beautiful point. I'll read that again, just in case you missed it. Because we choose good value stocks, taking on extra position is a very powerful form of risk reduction. Therefore, when making your first position size, it is important to think that you are likely to take on a couple of more positions. So if you've got that in mind, this is also if we were to reverse it, if you were wanting to buy a stock, but if that stock actually dropped and you were not therefore willing to take on another position, maybe that stock is probably not as good for you. So I'll repeat that. If you're looking at buying a stock, but you're not 100% sure, a question you could ask is, would you therefore potentially buy another position if the stock potentially drops further? And if you're not willing to do so, then that stock may not be the right stock for you to buy right now. So thank you, Tony, for that. That is a very good point. And something I've been wanting to say, but I've always forgotten. Rodney's got this year is harder, but 32% annualized is still well above the bank interest. Yeah, Rodney, when on the 32% annualized, that's more of that's the real, I guess, risk reduction that Frank is in a way taking, because real capital gain, what I always want to look at is risk adjusted returns, because a lot of times the money's back in cash and then ready to be deployed. Therefore, the annualized rate gives you a good sense of where things are headed. James got enjoy the process, do your homework, stay the course. Summer's got takeaways to build my self-confidence so I know where and when to cut my losses. Sandra, it is okay to take the time to build confidence and the portfolio. Yeah, in Frank's case, 8 months. Brad, keep position size small and then feel more confident, take on further positions. Exactly. Start small, scale up. Brenton's got the market is a living thing, go with the flow. Naveed, be okay with the results as good times or not so good times won't last forever. Exactly. Kevin, diversify your stocks. Brenton, allow enough cash to build on the positions. Awesome. Thanks, everyone, for that. So, Frank, just in summary, what impacts do you think Blueprint and Inner Circle has provided towards the financial future that you want to create?
I'd say for the long term, it's going to increase my super fund, which is great. So I'll have more cash there, and probably in the long term, or medium to long term, I probably would like to add in more funds, and just increase the profits that are in there. That I get out of it.
Yeah, now it's really good to see, because in a way, where I see is that you're sort of conquering both worlds on the resident, basically the property side, which you've done for years, for 30 years now, and now you're actually migrating to this side as well, and you're sort of becoming the master of both worlds on asset classes.
Yep, I think if I do a little bit less of housing and a little bit more of the stock market, that would be really good. Gives me a little bit more time.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm after.
Yeah, awesome. In fact, this is a question I've never asked before, but if you were someone else, right, who was learning, who basically is learning about what you've been learning in Blueprint, and you're seeing the results that people get, what back then, right? I don't know what I've said to you that made you join, but what would you have needed to hear to realize that Blueprint and this course was actually the right thing for you?
Yeah. So I was introduced to you by Grant, the accountant, or my accountant, and I didn't come to any pre sort of meetings. So I don't really know exactly how you explain things, on the onset. But look, I'd probably like to sort of look a little bit more of your results, and just to see your sort of just to see what how you handled things through different periods, just to get a little bit more confidence. That's probably what I would like to sort of see.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, thank you for
So in
that.
other words, I made a decision to come on board because I spoke to you, but I also spoke to Grant. So it was sort of like a connection there, and it was sort of a bit of trust, in both basically. But had I been just connected with you in a different sort of way, I may have sort of said to myself, okay, well, what are you actually doing? What have you done? And over the past, and like to see some sort of mock-up. I know that you have shown that in the webinars, in Inner Circle, but prior to then, I'm the type of person who likes seeing results, or likes seeing proof, basically.
Yeah, and fully agree. Definitely fully agree, Frank. And really, when I really say thank you, because when you joined, this is really when I was just starting on the teaching front, and you definitely did not see any results. I did not. It was really over a phone call, and it was just based on trust. So yeah, thank you for the trust. And I mean, we've had a great time together, so it's been good.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's good.
Yep. And Frank, what would your typical day actually look like? How much time do you actually, spend and focus when you're managing this freedom portfolio that you're creating right now?
So when I first started, like the first probably about 6 to 8 months, I actually spent basically almost every day, including weekends and many hours in the night, just doing building up my system, learning about it, etc. So I spent a fair bit of time. I'm talking about hours. But once I sort of built most of my system up and understood basically your teachings and system, I basically started spending maybe half an hour a night, and then in the mornings, well, at the moment in the mornings, I'm waking up around about, or I'm starting to look at the IB account around about an hour and 15 minutes before it closes. Okay. So that's what I basically do. So in the night now, I'm starting to spend a little bit more than I used to. Over the last probably 5-6 months, I haven't really spent a great deal of time in the night. It was mainly in the mornings, but now I'm starting to spend a little bit more in the night. So half an hour, 45 minutes, sometimes a little bit more.
Yeah. So are you finding that of course over time now, the process has actually got easier in terms of almost becoming second nature?
Yeah, it's gone easier. Look, I've sort of worked out a system where I can sort of get the information a little bit quicker. So I've only recently set this system up, or had this system set up for me, and since then I've been able to sort of do a little bit more research, more comfortable with that, and yeah, at the beginning I was following you a lot more, and now I'm still looking at similar stocks, because my list is basically built up from all your buys and sells over the period that you're showing. But I'm starting to sort of do the research on them a lot more, and yeah, so that does take a little bit more time.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. Yeah, no, I think it's actually great. What Frank mentioned earlier was he he's systemized it in a way where there was actually another sheet that we don't have time to go through tonight. We probably have another session that Frank's agreed with, where I'll be sharing with you what he's done. It's actually quite advanced, where he's created basically a spreadsheet where it pulls in different data from different sources, from Guru Focus, that sort of thing, and therefore allows him to make decision making much easier and quicker, because all the data is already pulled from different sources. And you're actually going to be very impressed when I show you that. So we'll leave that for another time, Frank. But when I saw that, I'm actually quite amazed with the advancement that you've created in this short amount of time.
Yeah, thanks for that, Terry. Took me quite a bit of time to build, or I didn't build it. I mean, I set it all up, and then I had someone sort of build it for me.
Right. Yeah, but it's just thinking, that thinking beyond the, I guess, the square of knowing that you wanted to speed up things, and and that's another thing too. Finding someone to build something like that, which is it's actually amazing. Just basically outsourcing. Yeah.
It took me a while. I had 2 goes at it. I found someone originally, and she built one of my sheets,
right,
which was the journal, and then I found another person who was who had experience on Google Sheets as well as Excel. And he was perfect, because he had several guys that he could sort of use to build whatever I wanted.
Yeah. No, that's definitely something that I'll share with the group and another time. There's a few people asking, can we have a quick look? It's just in the interest of time, we won't, because it's gonna have a whole host, and I think that itself really does deserve time for literally another session on its own. So
no, that's fine.
Yep, and Frank, in terms of takeaways, what's 1 or 2 things that in terms of lessons wise and actions that you can share with the inner circle group that's been really vital to the success you've had so far?
Yep, I've got a few things. Don't look back at what I've written these down. So don't look back at what you've sold, because it plays on your mind when it comes to selling in the future. Research the stocks on the inner circle list that have been bought and sold, your stocks that you've bought and sold, in order to work out a pattern. Work really hard at the beginning and continuously build your system to improve speed. I'm all for systems like Trisha and Chandara and June and others. I'm really all for systems, and to speed up and to work as little as possible, basically. And if in doubt, don't guess and ask the question or find the answer.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Frank, for that. Those, I think it was 5 shares. They're actually very important shares. So all about systems and speeding things up if you need to. And thank you, Frank, for all those shares. That's exactly why you're here today, being on this hot seat.
I think I learned from the guessing and being in doubt. I learned that from building a design. If you don't get it right and you're going to guess, it'll come back and bite you.
Yeah, correct. And especially in the building game as well, when a misstep or miscalculation can cost you quite dramatically compared to, say, a small position size. Because over there in the building game, it's not small; it's actually quite large. Yeah, thanks, Frank. Frank, just a self-serving question: would you recommend others join Blueprint and continuing their inner circle journey?
Yes, definitely. I definitely do that. You basically provide all the tools and all the support and ongoing support, which is great. So yeah, I think it's very worthwhile.
Yeah, thank you, Frank, for your kind words. So that's all I have with Frank. And Frank, officially want to say thank you for your time tonight. It's been awesome. I think it's allows our member group and all the other hundreds of members basically to learn more about you, but also know you as a person and what you've achieved so far, which I think it has been outstanding. So thank you again for tonight.
No worries. Thanks for that, Terry.
Yep.